Day late, but I'm here. um, yeah, thought I'd talk a little bit about what I'm grateful for, because this week is Thanksgiving, and I also just got done with a run of shows to Ohio and back with Tree No Leaves. So I figured I'd talk a little bit about that as well, because that adds to thinking of gratitude. Even though it's going to be awkward, I'm just going to fade this out and we'll get into it. So, like I mentioned last week, just a quick top of the show thing, that this show will be left in 2021 for the foreseeable future. Now, could it come back in some other form? That's totally possible. Realistically, I want to take the concepts of this podcast and make more commentary style videos, because that will expand what I'm able to do in that medium. So that's kind of the idea. It takes the burden, I guess, of the work burden, and lightens the load a little bit, because scheduling interviews for my other podcasts takes a lot of time, because think about this, like for every episode of Mitten Backstage, for example, you see like, oh, it's an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Some of them are 2.5 hours long. Now take that and, you have to, wait for it to finish, with Zoom, finish, finalizing the recording. And then you edit it and put it all together. And it takes a few hours. And then you have, you have to set aside time to get it uploaded and scheduled with all the metadata and all the other stuff. And sure, my thumbnails are bare bones basic, but that's also because I'm one human, and I'm doing a lot of things. I assume most of you who listen to this podcast know about me, and those who may have followed the podcast over the course of this year understand that I'm because of quarantine, post-pandemic quarantine. Well, I guess we're not in quarantine right now, but officially. But with 2021, I realized, and I think a lot of the world realized, how overworked we are, and how I don't want to constantly, wake up with a barrage of things I have to do. I like playing video games. I like, taking time out of my day to go have lunch with a friend or go for a walk, or, just simple things. Trying to find that balance of things that I like doing as a human being, versus things I do for my career. And, music's part of what I do, and talking to people is part of what I do. But, I just need to free up some more time for other not even interests, just focuses. Because I'm the captain of my ship. And that might be frustrating to some people who, might enjoy certain aspects of content, or who might, only know me from like, oh, I know him as the Earth Radio guy. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. But, there's a point where I have to like just kind of make that decision. And I'm also taking 2 months of my personal socials off. I'll probably still do some posts for Earth Radio and for Third Coast, to kind of retool how I approach social platforms. I'm not the biggest, like, insider knowledge of, how to use socials, because honestly, at a certain threshold, like you can't, there's no guarantees for anything. You know, you could be a famous artist and post a few videos and they're only doing, you know, sub 1,000. And you can be, you know, a random influencer and post a picture of like, oh, I'm sitting at a table and you get like 5 million views. So yeah, I'm not taking too much stock in how to, you know, super operate these things because the landscape keeps changing and, you know, I need a reset, especially with how, you know, crazy socials have been in the last couple years, especially. So need need that reset. Um, but like I said, I want to focus on the gratitude things today. So that was just a brief top of top of the show. Um, and also because with the time frame I have now to record this, I have about 30 minutes until I have to be on a Zoom call. So you know, Thanksgiving, grateful, grateful for a lot of things. Um, Even with this month being a particularly trying month in terms of like my energy level and being sick and finances being imbalanced, like, you know, on paper you could be like, yeah, your needs are going to be met, but in those, you know, it's like I'm earning money this week and then not this week and then this week and then not so it's staggered and it feels weird sometimes to have that when you know, like, okay, they're all the bills are going to be met, but it's going to take a second before that all locks in. And yeah, so I'm, you know, I'm thankful at a baseline that I'm, you know, month to month I'm still doing the music thing. I've been doing music as a sole career thing since my sophomore year at Grand Valley State University. And I say that as a qualifier because that was the year I quit a factory job, and then the year prior was when I worked at as a camp counselor. So aside from those two random jobs, I you know, I've done music for a source of income since graduating high school. I did do some of it in high school, but um not as, you know, there wasn't an expectation that I needed to earn money from it consistently. So it really started in college when I started getting more accompanying work, gigging out with different groups and meeting people in the scene and kind of getting plugged into these different avenues. um so that's a big grateful that I'm, you know, continuing this streak of I'm only doing music related things as a career. Like that's huge. And I was reminded of that through a post that I shared and a few other people shared. I think Brian Long was the first person I saw who shared this in my friend circle. It was a post from a musician who was reminding, you know, just being like, hey, don't pay attention to, you know, the spectacle of social media. Like, don't let that discourage you. And he himself outlined, like, you know, it's like I just went and did this thing with a huge band, and then the next night I played for 3 people at a bar, and then 2 weeks after that I was at this big show with this amazing event, and then, you know, the next week I was doing a solo show at a coffee shop. And it you know, everyone's doing their own thing, and if you're working in music, you know, you're part of the few people on this planet that make a living or a part of a living off of doing music. And that's something that so many people wish they could do. And I only know this, you know, I'm, you don't want to make blanket statements, but I know this from not just creatives who have approached me like, how do you make it work, like what do you do to have work happen as a musician or as a, you know, an artist. And um you know, it's people who you run into, and you mentioned you're a musician, and they say, "Oh, I took piano until I went into college, and I wish I would have stuck with it. I really want to, play music, but I'm just so busy, and I have a family now." And it's like, yeah, like I get it. It's not, I've said this in previous episodes too. It's not too late. Like you can start learning. Like my grandpa started learning violin, an instrument he's always been interested in but never learned. And I think he started, late 80s, 90, 89 or 90, learning the violin. So it's like, why can't you? Like 10, even just taking 15 minutes to like work on a scale or work on a piece of music, it all compounds. Like, when you first started working your job, you didn't know everyone's names. You didn't necessarily know the exact way to do things or the best way to do things at the job. You needed that time, to get acclimated to the environment, to learn the skill sets, to learn equipment, to learn, maybe it's customer service related. Maybe you need to learn some of the sales pitches or the dialogue points, and maybe it's a telemarketing thing. You have a script, but regardless of what job you always have to learn something. So um but I'm grateful that I can keep doing this, even if there are times where it's like a little maddening to like keep all the plates spinning. I think about I'm I think about this week in particular. I'm going to be playing with two different jazz trios, with Earth Radio, with a wedding band, and then the following week I'll have more time to prep for stuff, and then I'll have wedding gigs, and then I'll be playing with an opera singer the week after. I'm going to be playing with you know my trio again, the trio I'm in, normal mode, and you know more shows with Earth Radio, and like I can't complain about that. Having options for income is always nice and always the goal. So I'm grateful for like the 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 variety of what my job looks like. It's not me going to the same spot, sitting at the same desk in the same area for, X amount of years. And then after those years, maybe you get a promotion and you move to a different desk with different things. And, you know, some people love that, it's convenient. It's easy to like work around, but I like the times where, it's in the summer and I have a gig up north. I can literally plan like, I'll stay with a friend. Maybe I'll go, I'll take an extra day. Maybe I'll go up early and go swimming. Like the only requirements of my job usually are to show up and sound good. So as long as I show up on time and sound good, everything else kind of falls to me to do with what I want, and I'm grateful for that flexibility. Just to be able to, you know, take take the career of being a musician and shape it how I want to see it. Other people could make suggestions, but ultimately, I know who I am, and I know what I can do, and I know what I want to do, and I have the ability and the time and the flexibility to do it. Um, so grateful for that. And I know it might sound like each reprise just like, oh, he's just saying grateful. I'm just really tired because the we had 3 days, Earth Radio had 3 days in Ohio with this great group of dudes. Tree No Leaves. They had us at Village Idiot in Maumee, great little pizzeria with a stage. They do music 7 nights a week, which is, it's like, it's funny because like that was the first gig we played, Village Idiot, and then we went to Howard's Club H, which they put probably like 10 grand into that stage. It looks awesome, and it felt good to play on it, and I backlined the gear that they had. It was really cool. But we ended the run of shows at Tip Top Deluxe Bar and Grill, which they are known for doing music on, that you could have a Monday show or a matinee show. Like Tip Top's one of those places that just wants to fit music into every nook and cranny. So sometimes they have music 7 nights a week. I'm sure things are still ramping up to that level, but yeah, it's like we started the run of shows at an Ohio version of the Tip Top, and then ended at the Tip Top. Um, but yeah, all 3 of those days, fun, late nights coming home. Wasn't drinking. I had more caffeine, but I had coffee and energy drinks, and kind of coming down from being more caffeinated is partially what made me feel, tired. And I'm taking, as I'm recording this today, I'm grateful that I can say like, hey, I'm going to work from home today. I'm grateful to have that flexibility where I don't have to be running around every single day, every single second. And I'm able to say like, all right, I'm going to do work here, and then I'm going to, relax, however that looks. And that's always nice to be able to take that time, because yesterday I had a recording session that lasted a chunk of the day, and I just I got home and I felt exhausted, just that carryover from being up until like probably 3 on that Saturday. And it's like it's hard. It's still hard for me to like process in my brain, but each time I do it intentionally, it makes sense, that rest is productive, and quality rest is productive. So to take a break after doing a lot, because I default to doing a lot, even though me taking a break still kind of feels like I could be sending an email. Well, I could relax, but I could also like, just kind of play around with this, or, start my Skillshare course or something, like that's no, like there's an ebb and flow to it all. And I need to just, pay attention to what I need as a human being. So I'm grateful for the clarity that comes with understanding how to take care of yourself. So that's a thing to be grateful for. Yeah, those 3 days of shows were super fun. Decent crowds each time too. Tip Top and Village Idiot definitely had a good. They're smaller rooms, so it was nice to have like 40 some people in each room feel like a little party. And especially on Saturday, like to have anyone who came out to the Tip Top, y'all are heroes. Because there's so many, like, even just like, local shows. You could have gone to Skeletones, you could have gone to maybe the Stray had something. You could have gone to Pyramid Scheme, I'm sure they had something. You could have gone to Mulligan's, or Dueling Pianos, or I don't think the Bob's doing any. They might be doing something. The Bob. You could have gone just to a nightclub. You could have gone just out to dinner. There's places just to eat and drink without music. You could have stayed home and just watched Netflix. It's getting colder, and that is more and more appealing to people. But then at the top of it too, Terrence Blanchard was with the Turtle Island Quartet at the Listening Room, and Toby Nwigwe was at Intersection. He was at the Intersection. This comedian Matt Bronger was at Billy's Lounge. There's so much entertainment happening Saturday night, and really good entertainment too. Shows, I wanted to see Terrence Blanchard and Toby Nwigwe. I would have literally bought tickets to both shows and just been like, can I catch like the beginning of Terrence and then go see Toby, or like how do I make it work? Like, because the venues are a block away from each other. But um yeah, like, so anyone who was there, grateful for, you guys coming out and hanging out. Um I've been grateful this month for conversations. I've, getting to sit down and have meals with people, getting to chat with, bandmates in car rides, getting to have extended phone conversations, podcast conversations. Like, it's nice to like catch up with people, and I like having conversation. When, go figure, I started 3 podcasts. um but it's that moment of like, oh yeah, I got to catch up with this dude in this spot, or I got to see, I had breakfast with my mom, and like, I got to see, people that I hadn't seen in a while in Ohio, and um people in the scene I don't really see a ton because of how busy my schedule is, um and not really drinking, so I'm not, to be social is like, it's kind of that old man of like, all right, I'm not, like, no substance is altering my mood to enjoy certain things. So I feel like that's part, like, if you have a good buzz going at a bar, like, you can just hang out, like, it doesn't matter what's happening. But when you're not drinking at a bar and you're seeing everyone else just slowly, like, you're starting to feel separated from the vibe because, you know it's almost like a sympathetic hang when it's other people, they all start drinking together, they all start to enter this similar state of being, drunk, and then that changes the dynamic of everything. The scientific explanation of everyone's just getting drunk and having whatever good time. um and it's not me being like, oh, no one should drink ever. It's more of just me, like, I'm just exhausted by beer culture, so I've been out of it for like a few months, which I'm also kind of grateful for. I'm grateful that I don't have that compulsion on gigs anymore to get a drink. Like, I don't feel that pull of like, oh, I got to soak up the savings, um and I got to keep pace with people. I got to have 6 drinks or 7 drinks, and then I got to slam a whole pizza or something. Like, I'm grateful that those cycles are, at least, for sure, for drinking the cycle's broken, and then for food it's been a similar thing. Although I've had some, you know not even missteps, just like, intentionally being like, all right, I need to just have food today, in whatever quantity. But, um, you know, I'm grateful overall my health is improving, and that the mindset of my health is changing, because it is like a top down approach of like, oh, if you're healthier, then everything else falls into place easier. You have more energy to do things, and you don't try and tape podcasts when you're like still kind of tired. um, so definitely grateful for those improvements. And you know, I'm uh, I'm grateful for friends, all the friends that I have from all walks of life, people I haven't seen in a while who I'm reconnecting with, people who I've known for years that we touch base here and there. You know, it's tricky and hard to be to have friends the older you get, because everyone's lives get so busy, and people get, there's people who I know I won't see for years probably because they have families, and that's just the reality of it. Like, if you're listening to this and you're like a younger dude, and you're like, you're going to have a friend who's going to have a kid or a second kid or a third kid, and you're not going to see them for a while because they are responsible for the life of this like vulnerable person, like the most vulnerable, like a newborn. um so they're not going to always want to go out to eat or even have the ability to go out to eat if both parents are working or all that stuff. So I'm grateful for any time I can have with friends in the craziness of a schedule. um I'm thinking of busy schedule, I'm grateful that I can, I mentioned earlier, I'm taking 2 months off of social media at the top of next year. I'm grateful that I can reach that decision with a little bit more peace. And I'm grateful that I'm for this, or I'm grateful because it's also coincides with being able to do a musical again. West Shore Community College is a great community, and out in Ludington, and I'll get to live in, basically live in another city for 2 months, and that's huge. I'm glad that I get like a working vacation to kind of reset and to kind of, be removed from a lot of the routine of, of just being here, having a little bit of a change of pace. So it coincides with, working vacation, could take a break from some of the other responsibilities. Grateful for just like listing it off because there's no there's no rhyme or reason to how I present these. I guess I'm not going to be like number 5, the best grateful thing I've ever done. Grateful for my bandmates because we pulled it together and we did a 3-day run. We organized it with like getting rides coordinated between multiple cities and trying to backline gear and make things work and all these things, and just goofing around Toledo and Bowling Green and Mommy and just having fun. Good group of folks, good motivators, all those good things. And I think I'm gonna wrap up because I'm still tired, and I could half asleep be like, I'm also grateful so I could, but I also need to get ready for this phone call. So I'm grateful also to anyone who's listened to this podcast and has enjoyed it. Topics and aspects of this podcast will pop up in other things. And I encourage you to listen to Mitten Backstage and Life is a Piano if you want to see me in this kind of podcast format, talking with other musicians. As much as it is a podcast about musicians talking shop, it's not just us, nerding out about theory or talking about like production or like there's elements of the industry, but it's also both podcasts are also just about life. So much of how creatives are presented to the world are in their most polished state, and not really the human behind them. Or you get it in doses. Like if you go see a show, all right, you saw 2 hours or 90 minutes of that person in this scenario. And it's nice to have opportunities to, just be like regular old people just talking about life and career and goals. And, there's a podcast episode this week that, we talk about everything from like technology to politics to culture to, arts and interacting with technology. And it's a varied conversation. So, all right, but I am going to end this. If you like this podcast, share it with folks. It's going to be winding down for 2021. But hey, the episodes will continue to exist. They will be a little snapshot in time and kind of a reference, in years to come of like, this is kind of where I started. This is something that kickstarted me creating more than I thought I ever could. When you create 3 different podcasts, I've done like 100, almost 150, probably 150. Maybe closer to 100. Yeah, like across all the podcasts, I've done about 100 podcasts episodes between the 3 in a year, which is nuts. And it was a lot of work, but I learned a lot, and I know how to better move forward with things that I want to focus on. So again, if you enjoy these podcasts, you can head on over to patreon.com/Dr. Snedeker, and you can contribute that way. You can share it, you can like it, you can, all the metrics, all the different things. You can go to DrSnedeker.com to see everything else. And I am gonna have some, a better presentation for the last few. I just am working from home today, so this is the methodology of it all for today. I appreciate your patience and understanding with it being a day late, but I'm only one person, and I was out of town for 3 days. But yeah, we'll see you in the next episode of the Dr. Snedeker podcast.